One of the difficulties with the Draenei is that you can't just summarize them inside of, a 4-minute speech. They're not a one-sentence group, and it's something we've known about since we decided on, using them as the new Alliance race. We had series villains like Archimonde and Kil'jaeden that are from this race called the Eredar. Big giant demons, right? Kind of a no-brainer for, a demonic race to lead the Burning Legion. And as we were kind of staring at those models and looking at that concept art, as we were kind of struggling to find the perfect Alliance race to add, that form just kind of came back to us again and again. These guys just look awesome. Trip out, wouldn't it be crazy if we had a lawful good version of these guys, if maybe they weren't always evil? Draenei originally came from the world of Argus. That's the home world of the Eredar race. And again, Draenei means exile, so we're dealing with one very specific tribe that was driven out and has managed to survive all these generations. Their experience is more on a cosmic scale. They know more than any other race we've encountered about the Burning Crusade, about the Naaru and the Legion and the Titans and all of these cosmic forces playing out. So, with the juxtaposition of a very evil-looking form, but a very noble cause and a very noble ideology, Draenei was a fun experiment to play with.
With the Draenei, we wanted to create a very heroic kind of theme for them. They kind of pose. They're very striking. They have good posture. They're the ultimate good guys in the universe, and they're here to save the day. So they sort of strike these Superman poses every once in a while.
Their proponents or their matrons are the Naaru. The Naaru are these massively powerful kind of celestial beings. They're pretty much the angels of the Warcraft universe. Classically, the Draenei have been attempting to become more like the Naaru. They exemplify their altruism. They are empowered by their light.
If anything, the Draenei are probably more pure and good than any other race in the Alliance.
They're definitely more far out than the classic archetypes we've been using so far.
So when creating the Draenei, we wanted to create something that was a little otherworldly. He's got blue skin, he's got interesting proportions, he's got a tail, the females have horns.
The Draenei have a rune on their head, so it exists for making them look really cool.
That actually is called the Mark of the Naaru. It's a blessing placed on their forehead. The way it should be playing out is when you use your racial ability, that'll come into effect and signify that you are indeed light-touched.
We wanted to make it feel like the Draenei were always part of the Warcraft universe.
So the Draenei's beginning areas were a pretty unique challenge because we were trying to build a place for a new race to start, but we didn't really have any real estate.
When the Draenei ship, the Exodar, crashed, it sort of scattered all over the place. So there are multiple crash sites throughout northern Kalimdor.
And they basically landed on 2 islands that are off the coast of Darkshore, south of Teldrassil. And these islands we separated out. We have one as a 1 to 10 playable zone, and the other is our 10 to 20.
So in Amon Vale, it's sort of a crashed part of the Exodar, and the Draenei are kind of throwing stuff together, and they're just sort of trying to make this their temporary home. And you'll notice there's crates and boxes everywhere. They're sort of setting up camp.
I think what punctuates the Draenei starting experience is the fact that there's a sense of urgency. Right away, you realize that you're part of some catastrophe or something really important. There are a lot of injured people around. It's up to you to help heal fallen Draenei who aren't doing as well as you are. You have to figure out what the situation has done to the surrounding environments. They've
crashed on Azeroth while they were trying to escape from Outland. Their craft that they were on basically got hijacked by Blood Elves and crash landed.
So what we discover in Blood Mist is that the Blood Elves have an actual contingency inside the area, and they're facilitating the corruption that's spreading from the power core, which is the Exodar's power core.
You're not really going to have to think a lot about what you're going to need to do. The quests will seem to make sense to you because they fit the lore.
Usually with a zone or a race, I always like to look at something that you've seen in the world, like this zone needs to look like a Tibetan monastery, or this zone needs to look like a redwood forest. Well, the tricky thing with the Draenei, they came from another planet. We really had nothing to base the Draenei on.
So your first encounter with the Draenei architecture is in Amon Vale, and that's just a small fragment of your giant ship that crashed, and which is in fact a small section of even a larger ship that you'll find out about later in the game.
We decided early on that the Draenei would have a lot of crystal energy and crystal-related architecture that would be infused or bound in their architecture.
Where those crystals came from and why they're there and what role they play in the story is all something that'll eventually unfold in the game.
We came up with something that you couldn't really identify as anything that relates to this planet.
As you progress in the game as a Draenei, you'll start to see a little bit more of their themes come through with their armor and their clothes. A lot of their items and weapons and their clothing have these crystals on them, which are prevalent in their ship and their architecture.
I'd say you play like newer games and their weapon designs may be really cool looking, but as a gamer, if you can't make a connection, you don't really appreciate what the weapon does.
Draenei incorporate a lot of crystals and stone of like almost metallic kind of nature into their items, armor.
The Exodar is the crashed craft that the Draenei came down onto Azeroth on, and it's buried halfway into the side of a mountain.
Yeah, walk into Exodar the first time, you're like, what the hell is this?
As far as looks go, it looks completely amazing. It's just a whole new art style than we've ever kind of tackled before, and I think it really stands out on its own as a city. All of their operations that they're trying to still figure out what happened, why did they crash here, what are they going to do? I think the centerpiece of all of that is here at the Exodar.
With the Draenei, we wanted to create something that you would never expect to see in World of Warcraft, while at the same time, it couldn't look too far out that no one could relate to it. I think we struck a pretty good balance with it.
What we want the players to come away with from the Draenei experience, that they've taken on the main heroic role for their people, that they're kind of at the forefront of that.
What happened to my race? How did I end up here? Where do I want to go?
We want to give them that identity, but we want to give them that purpose.
We're extremely happy with the way the Draenei came out. Very unique look.
We could have done a lot of things. We could have added, ogres and goblins and naga. There's all sorts of cool races in Warcraft that I want to get to one day, and that would be a lot of fun to play. All these races have cool, histories and a lot of character, but Draenei felt like a radical choice. It's definitely not the same thing. Even Blood Elves, as whack as they are, being part of the Horde, not as radical an argument, but Draenei, you gotta be crazy to even try that. And I dig that. I dig that we went kind of crazy with it. We'll have to see how it plays out.